Last week in Submarine, CSST, the Sea Riders, finished the first part of their assessment. Super B passed all the tests, but there's more to come on a professional and personal level. CSST are giving the crew of HMS Superb a brief respite, but that doesn't mean that skipper John Humphreys hasn't got a few observations to make about the progress of his team.
We sailed from Rosyth on the 29th of May when we had the biggest red L plate on the side of the fin you ever did see. I would suggest to you now that we now have a green one. We are probationary submariners. We are, as you've heard, at a fairly fragile state of training, and you do need to think about what you've been told so that we can consolidate on that and get rid of the green L plate. You have worked together. I do detect, as I knew I would, real teamwork and esprit de corps in this ship's company, and that you should be especially proud of. Well done. I'm so pleased with you that I'm going to take some time off now. I'm getting off tomorrow morning, principally because the XO has been dripping like a leaky tap about not getting a chance to do anything except change standing orders and write daily orders and all the rest of it. So I'm going to get off and let him have a play. The fact that you're doing deep dive and full power trial has got nothing to do with that. And I will be thinking of you. So be careful. Thanks very much, gentlemen.
Behind the smile and the jokes, Commander Humphreys is facing different pressures from home that the rest of the crew know nothing about. Those worries have been with him from almost the moment Superb sailed.
Unfortunately, when we sailed from Faslane, we were about 80 odd miles out, and I got news my father had died. So I got off, and the XO, who's command qualified, who's done the submarine command course, got a chance to move into the deluxe suite we currently occupy. And he did the deep dive and the full power trial very successfully. He's a bright lad, younger than me, swine, but he's now got some experience as well, and that's invaluable.
Superb has dived since her massive refit, but none has been like this one.
Comms of the aircraft telling him that we're going deep in the next 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll be on our way down to 205 metres. That's all.
In command will be Executive Officer Ian Breckenridge.
We've tested everything in refit, and we pressure test all hull valves and other equipment. And the final test, of course, is to take the submarine down to deep diving depth for the sort of the real test. We do it in stages. So we went to sort of one depth, did a load of tests there, down to another depth, and then finally down to deep diving depth.
We've basically opened up all these hatches here because we're expecting the fittings and the pressure hull to be squeezed up at depth, and the last thing we wanted is to have doors and cupboards jammed shut.
The pressure on the outside hull is enormous, equal to the pressure on the crew itself. But they have to trust that the designers and builders knew what they were doing. When they say Superb can go so deep, then it must be tested to that depth. Minor leaks can be dealt with. Major ones could be catastrophic.
Do you have to play Who Wants to Live Forever while we're doing a deep dive?
How deep she will go is classified, but it will be deep. Very, very deep.
And a special mention for Vivian Moffat.
Vivian Moffat, he doesn't want to be deep. Oh, the ball seems clear, but that's a steady drip.
Behind the nervous banter, every crewman is straining for the sounds and signs that mean something could be wrong. These are tense minutes for even experienced submariners like Reggie Perrin.
I think most people on here had been down to deep diving test pressure before, but it's always nice to rely on the equipment, especially the first one after all those years in refit. I must admit it was a bit hairy at times, and a few bulkheads were bending, the wood was cracking throughout the submarine. Quite a few of that's had to be replaced. A few tiles come up in the galley and the heads and the bathrooms. But other than that, it was just really cosmetic damage with inside, nothing major, nothing that you wouldn't expect anyway from a deep dive. But it was successful, and we've got confidence now in our equipment. We know it works down deep.
While the build-up, the dive and the aftermath the train for carried out and examined, there are other events that will be missed. Events on shore that most people take for granted and not part of a submariner's life, like a child's birthday.
Nicole always says she doesn't want me to go, which is understandable. You know, she's 6.5 now, she understands me going away. But she's always glad to see me when I come home. Michael hasn't got no concept of time at the moment, bless him. Apparently anyone walking down the street is Dada.
Nicole, show you how to do it.
Once he's home, they're all over him, you know, especially Michael, I think. It just follows his dad everywhere when he's home. Once he's been home for a while, whether that will wear off or not, I don't know. But you see, when he does come home, he seems to want his dad more than he does me, you know.
Back on Superb, it's not only the skipper who's having to deal with bad news. Coxswain Paul Kennel has had to leave Superb to make the long journey from Faslane back to his home in Gosport. His wife Michelle needs him badly after a traumatic experience. It also gives him time to spend with his children, a much-needed break from the family on the boat to see his family at home. Part of it spent, where else, at the Submarine Museum.
Rachel,
Dad was on this
it's a model of one Dad used to be on years ago. It was Resolution, and they got rid of those ones. You see the missile hatches there, look. Used to be 16. Yeah, and the conning tower with the men in the bridge, look. She went out to park the car one night and left the door ajar, and some chap decided coming through the door, take her handbag and run down the road, and she just caught sight of him and ran after him as best she could, but did her backing in the process of it. So that took about, well, it's still ongoing now. She's still getting physiotherapy, and it's brought out that there might be a few other problems wrong with her as well that she's got. So it's been sort of ongoing for the last year now, unfortunately.
I had to deal with cancelling the chequebook and all the cards and everything like that. And then the police came and had to go to Gosport police station, make a statement and everything. And Paul didn't know anything about that till he'd come home then. That had all been done by the time he'd come home.
That's what he used to use for talking. So there'd be somebody sat here, and whoever he wanted to talk to, he would move a button down. Michelle's been married to me now for quite a while, and she's got used to being the Navy wife. She kept quiet to me, really, as to how bad it had got.
I didn't think it was that serious to get family services involved to tell him, because he'd only worry anyway. There's no point worrying him if he can't do anything about it.
All right, I want to steer it, and then you've got to go back and forward to keep on depth, look. Oh, we're going down now. Don't do that. Going down. It was during the sea trial stage that I rang home on the Saturday and could tell things weren't as they should be. You know, she was suffering a lot more than she was telling me. And her mother come down to see her on the Sunday and said, right, that's it. You know, I'm going to put you to bed and get a doctor in. And they rang me up, and the doctor confined her to bed for 4 days, and they got me off the boat for the month.
Where are they going to build the tower, look? I've never had to get to the stage where I couldn't cope on my own. And the fact that I really needed him here was very unusual for me, because I've always been able to, my family don't live far and things like that, so they've always been on hand to help me. But this time I just couldn't manage on my own. I mean, I could hardly walk, or I'd slip my disc. So for him to be here was good, really, and not only helped me but the children as well. So
You want something? You see the Victory?
Paul will have to make the difficult choice soon on whether to leave the Navy or not. Back on Superb, there's a sense of a job well done. The deep dive went well, and John Humphreys is back in command. Next is a sail to Den Helder in Holland. The crossing takes Superb into the busiest sea lanes in the world. She might be powerful and deadly underwater, but Superb on the surface is a small object on a big sea and dwarfed by merchant vessels. Vigilance is the key word.
We're presently navigating our way up the English Channel, which is one of the most busiest shipping routes in the world, if not the most busiest shipping route in the world, with the amount of traffic that's going through it. So we've got to be pretty accurate. Well, accurate, there's no pretty about it, you've got to be accurate all the way through. I've just had a look at the radar screen before we came on, and we have got other vessels all around us at the moment. Us being the fastest one, we're slowly overtaking them all. We can't do any sudden movements because they'll be watching us and we're watching them all the time, so we've got everything just right. At the moment, touch wood, everything's going okay.
100, 200.
Keith Astbury is, at the moment, the most popular man on board, but he's not popular at home with his missus.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Bye. Bye.
300, 310, 320.
I'll keep, I trust you anyway.
Keith's job is to give out the subbies for the traditional run ashore, a few wets in the Dutch bars. But wife Sherry is missing him and finding things hard.
I think I take it out on the girls at work sometimes as well. And I get my bossy head on and I feel a bit of stress sort of thing. But I think they're quite good because they can sort of like sense that I might be that, feeling that sort of like little bit way out, and they sort of like just leave me alone and let me get on with it. I think you just get right to the end of it and you just think you just had enough. You just like can't take any more of being on your own. You get fed up with it. You get angry with them for actually putting you in this situation.
Who's next? I'm coming in, mate. Yeah, I better get some money to defend or leave over.
That's pretty.
This, gentlemen, is our first time at sea as a fleet unit. We are no longer on sea trials. We are here as of right. The boat works, it works well. As a ship's company, we are working well.
Complacency is something the skipper will not tolerate. The crew have done well and deserve a few days in a foreign port, but they're there to represent the Royal Navy and the country, and they mustn't be let down.
But one of the points of me speaking to you now is to ask you to continue with that level of commitment, because we've got a long way to go.
Reggie Perrin is fed up that he's missed his son's second birthday, but he's navigating as Superb approaches Den Helder, where she'll be under the watchful eyes of foreign navies. He hasn't got much time to think about home and children.
Just working out now what speed he's been doing over the last hour, because we've obviously got to be where we're going at a certain time. We don't want to fall behind or get too far ahead. So the officer watching can adjust his speed as we get nearer to our destination. Bridge clock. Fix on, 2 minutes old, using GPS puts you on track and safe. Speed made good over the last hour, 13.1 knots.
Leading hand Mandy Sowden has also got a lot to think about. He's about to take exams that will take him up the ladder.
Well, it's basically an oral board about the tactical weapons system on the boat. My job as a controller in the sound room, so I can take control and charge in the sound room. I've got to be able to know exactly what's happening with the torpedo at any time, and the sonar and the tactical weapons system in general. You know, can be a bit tense.
Back home in Penzance, Jamie's wife Mandy is also studying. Mutual support is there for neither.
They're advanced certificate in marketing exams. I've been doing that about 9 months now, and I'm coming up to exam time, so obviously I've been putting in as much work as possible. I know how much I want them, you know, and I've worked so hard that I think about failing, and I don't want to have to do resits. I've worked so hard this time to take them the first time. I don't want to have to do resits.
Jamie's examination is tough, but if he passes, it will take him, at the age of 27, closer to becoming a petty officer. Working with the tactical weapons systems, he has to have, amongst other things, a thorough working knowledge of the information that's needed to fire a torpedo from the bomb shop. He has to coordinate all the information, so his is a vital role.
Is there an embedded terminal in there?
Yeah, yes. 2 embedded terminals in Smokes.
Mandy wants Jamie to succeed, but she also knows that a pass could be a double-edged sword. His commitment to stay in the Navy will be reinforced with all its attendant disruptions to home life. It'll make it harder for her.
The important bits were fine, you buffed, I was quite happy with that. And I would say you've got the 65-70% knowledge now.
It's a gruelling hour, but Jamie passes.
Okay? Yeah. Well, that's fine, it's a good pass, quite happy with that.
Alright, thanks.
Alright.
Well done. Good stuff. That's another one complete. Hurrah! Alright, you can relax for a couple of hours.
We can get out now.
Okay, come on.
You want to rack out?
Okay,
Call it quits
14th,
with
19th of October, we're going to be visiting Den Helder. Den Helder's in the Netherlands. Right at the top here. Amsterdam's down there. It's about 60 minutes away on the train. 2 trains every hour, 25 minutes, 55 minutes past the hour. Okay. Den Helder itself is not unlike Gosport. Yeah. So, no, it's not. It's actually quite good. They're quite tolerant of matelots because they're very used to them, unlike Gosport. And there are a lot of very reasonable clubs. A lot of you will decide, instead of staying in Den Helder, you want to go to Amsterdam instead. And we've got some information on that which we'll give to you during the course of this brief.
The run ashore is a time to unwind after the strains of deep water clearance. It will be fun, but more of the crew than you would think say they would prefer to be at home with their families. The Dutch pilot and tugs safely manoeuvre Super B alongside. The visit is not just a 3-day jolly, it's a flag-waving exercise to show Britain's continued support of NATO and its aims. Submariners around the world are a breed apart, and when together, the talk is submarines. Den Helder has close links with Superb's home port. The name of the bar says it all.
It doesn't start getting interesting till about 10, 11 o'clock.
But submarines are certainly not the topic of conversation elsewhere. Hundreds of miles away, another group is meeting for a drink and a chat. Their talk is about their husbands.
But I think once you find that he's been home for a certain amount of time, you will get back into the normal way of things, won't you?
Yeah, but I think
and after a while you'll forget he's never been there.
I think it's going to take time.
Oh, definitely.
I don't think you can rush back into it because you've been living single lives, haven't you?
That's right.
And you have to get used to each other again.
So we actually sort of try to move forward.
Station area, that last time I was there, that's all I meant to.
Come out of the station, right? There's a tram number 20 that you get from just outside the station. It takes you right around Amsterdam.
Go down the steps, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, under the road and up again. There's the tram stop there.
They leave things around all the time, sort of like lying around and you're
Dave
forever going around.
Get away with it in me because he knows what I'm like.
Well, maybe I'm a bit soft then.
Cups by the sink when you've got a dishwasher.
Oh, no,
little things like that, and you think, well, just, before you just used to put it in, why not now? And
yeah,
I don't know.
Or maybe
I don't know
maybe that's just maybe us then, because we've been used to, I don't know, we've been used to sort of like doing things our own way sort of thing, and then they come in and there's more of a mess, isn't there?
He's fixing his chairs and his stereo.
Well, I have a dabble here and there.
Oh, there you go, see? Operator maintainer.
Yeah.
4 o'clock when certain bars are closed. Other ones are going open. There are bars who open at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Smelly old clothes. And the submarine smell wafts in through the door.
But it just stays. You can wash them, you can shower them, you can scrub them, whatever, but it's just there in their paws and their hair and their clothes. But it's just something you just get used to, I suppose, don't you?
At one stage when I was in sea training, I came up with the idea that we should have an international submarine party. The aim of the game is to get submarine representatives at a junior level together in a big hotel somewhere. The security guards are on the outside, lock them in with all the standard submarine games that we play, uckers, card games, all the rest of it. And we would have a whale of a time because we all have the same sense of humour. Most of them, thankfully, speak good English because my Dutch is absolutely terrible.
It is.
And it would be one hell of a party. Unfortunately, of course, it will never happen because it would be much too politically sensitive and the hotel will be destroyed in the process.
After 3 days of letting off steam and some diplomacy in Holland, a Navy decision that, on the face of it, seems harsh. On the way back to Scotland, Superb stops off in Plymouth, but only to take on weapons. Because of time and predicted bad weather, there is no opportunity for any of the locally based crew to see their families. After a mammoth £200 million refit lasting 3.5 years and months of hard training and exercises, HMS Superb is back in the Royal Navy. But she is still not deemed to be back on active service.
Cabinet casing.
There now comes the final test. CSST, the Sea Riders, are back on board. They're here to observe as Super B goes on an operational exercise, OPEX. The submarine is going to war.
Evening, Captain, sir, gentlemen. As you all know, OPEX is the culmination of Superb's period of BOST and will consist of a 78-hour assessment in an operational environment. The exercise will take place in the Scottish exercise areas between 03-0900 Zulu and 06-1500 Zulu in December 98. Our mission is quite simple: to exercise Superb within a realistic scenario, allowing an assessment of the standard we've already achieved at the end of BOST. It's basically the exam for the operational workup.
This is a game, we're training, we're here to learn a job. The only way we can do that is by playing it for real. So from 06 Dubs tomorrow, we will be at war. The rules of the game in the modern world are complex. Rules of engagement, you've heard that one mentioned once already. That means that at the start of this game, when we're playing here, our overriding priority is to remain undetected. And that's where everybody comes in. Every single one of you must make sure that the routines, the stowage, and all the other bits and pieces that have been hammered into us over the last 3 or 4 weeks happen as a matter of course. Apart from the operational tasks, it's a whole ship evolution, because every man jack of us will be required to fight action damage. Every single one of us will be required to fight the ship. When you're not fighting the ship, making good defects, or planning for the next evolution, you sleep. And lastly, and probably more important than all the rest, enjoy it. Have something to tell your grandchildren when you are even older and uglier than you are already.
Next week in Submarine, virtual reality war for Superb, rest and recreation in the Med, and the skipper has a decision to make.